Welcome back to the show. Well, cloud, social and mobile are the three trends that are impacting just about every industry. But as the pace of disruption increases, how can business stay abreast or even ahead of these changes? Well, ThoughtWorks have held a series of events in Sydney and Melbourne focusing on the idea of a fragmented future. For more on this, I'm joined now by their Australian Managing Director, Lindy, who's in our Sky News Business Centre. Lindy, welcome to the program this afternoon. Now, that's kind of an intriguing title, a fragmented future. What does that actually mean?
When we say the fragmented future, we're referring to the changes that we're seeing in the way people access information, the way they purchase goods and services, or the way they use technology. So we see that now. People used to sit at a desk and use a computer in order to, to do their shopping. Now they'll stand in a bank queue with a mobile device in their hand and do the same thing. What we're seeing, though, is in the future is that the pace of that change and the pace at which people start to use new types of devices is just increasing, and we can't even see a couple of years in advance where things are going to head in the future. So we believe that sort of, spreading things out all over the place and means that companies really have to be ready for that change.
Is it moving too fast for business, especially large enterprises, because they do multi-year, long-term visions and so forth? Can they keep up with these changes?
Well, that's an interesting question, and that's what we've been addressing at our conference over the last couple of days. I mean, certainly those companies with ambitious missions are going to have to be ahead of this change. They're going to have to be ready for it and willing to adapt quickly in order to face it, particularly considering we don't know what's coming next, so we don't know how they should even prepare for what's going to be in that future. So we looked at the conference at a number of different things that they can do in order to try and prepare themselves for that future.
And those were especially focusing on the mobile area in particular?
Look, at the moment, mobile is where we're seeing most of the disruption and the way people use mobile devices. And we talked specifically about techniques that people can use in order to design their mobile systems. Really, though, not just for today, but to set themselves up for the future. I mean, is there going to be a new handset next week that takes over within 6 months and everybody's using it? Is there going to be a new platform that people are using? So we're trying to set people up for that future.
When you're out there talking to your clients, what are they most worried about at the moment?
I think that is that pace of change. It's also how can they be ready for that and how can they set up their design of their systems. And that's design as in how does the system look and feel, how do they have consistency across platforms, but also how do they actually design so that they can be responsive quickly. Certainly, as you mentioned, the big enterprises really have struggled with that in the past, and you need to have a fair amount of sort of courage to step forward and to make these changes now so that you are ready for the future.
Apart from the mobile area, which we know is changing quite rapidly, and maybe social, because we've kind of covered that, what else is standing out as an area where change is occurring?
Well, look, it's interesting. One of the other things that we're talking to clients about a lot now is using their data better and actually analysing the data that they have. There is some crazy stuff out there around analytics and around what you can do now with video and things like that. Certainly, there's some amazing things happening, but it's actually more about just using what you have better. So one of the things that we found, it's back to mobile, but we've found that people have Android devices and iOS devices, and many clients think there are more Android devices, therefore I need to be ready for that. When they look at their data, they realise that actually more of the people who are purchasing their services are using iOS, or it's the same number of purchases but they're spending twice as much on iOS. So actually finding out what's really going on and not what the market's telling you is going on for your customers is very important.
Is there a particular industry that you see as being quite heavily disrupted right now?
I think that where we're going to see the disruption is in retail. That seems to be where most of our clients are struggling at the moment to keep up with the pace of change, and where a lot of the opportunities overseas, companies overseas have actually made a lot of change, some quite radical change, even going so far as to starting with a mobile strategy and then moving that into an in-store experience, so really even reversing it all on its head.
What has this change meant for you as a software development company? Have you had to change the way that you work to accommodate this?
Yeah, look, we've always prided ourselves on one of the things we teach our clients is how to move fast, but this has taken it to a whole other level. So we certainly have developed techniques, particularly around getting things out to the customer faster. So it's all very well to write software quickly, but you actually need to get it into the hands of the consumer faster. So we've spent a lot of time developing tools and techniques to make that happen, so that we're actually seeing response, getting feedback from customers very quickly for our clients.
And just quickly, Lindy, where's your attention going to be focused over the next 6 to 12 months, given that you're heading up ThoughtWorks?
Look, I think at the moment we are looking at this area of this fragmented future and trying to see what we can do for our clients in that space. I think one of the main things is to see how can we teach them to listen to their customers, listen to what the customers have to say, but also get ahead of this curve by coming up with some crazy ideas.
Getting ahead of the curve is going to be difficult, especially if you're struggling with it as well.
Absolutely, and I think that's the thing. It's like how do you innovate? How do you have systemic processes in order to do that?
Okay, all right, Lindy. Thanks for joining us today on Technology Behind Business.
Thanks very much.
Right, that's all we have time for on this week's episode. Now, next week we'll meet two Aussie entrepreneurs. They're taking on the world of online betting, but their application, their program has a social twist. Plus, how important is word of mouth for your brand? That's all coming up next week. I'm Nigel Freitas. I'll see you then.